Deseo aprovechar esta ocasión del retorno de mi hija de su viaje a España para testimoniar mi honda gratitud al gobierno y pueblo españoles por la hospitalidad magnánima, por el cálido recibimiento y por los honores a ella dispensados. La legendaria galantería hispana ha rebasado sus límites, dando al mundo la más hermosa lección de diplomacia, porque toca al corazón. Nada halaga tanto mi vanidad de padre y jefe ejecutivo de la nación como el pensar que el tránsito fugaz de mi hija por tierras españolas ha sido la chispa que ha encendido la hoguera que ha de alumbrar el destino de los dos pueblos. Al picotarla espléndidos agasajos, el gobierno y la prensa españoles han tenido bien adscribir a la visita de mi hija un significado simbólico, llamándola nieta de los viejos conquistadores castellanos y viendo en ella la encarnación viviente de nuestra raza. Sería demasiado presumir que mi hija es asunto fiel de las virtudes ejemplares de la mujer filipina: ternura y humildad, mansedumbre y candor, como la describiera nuestro Rizal. Pero sí afirmo que ella ha sido la joven capitana que ha llevado a España el oro sin escoria de nuestros afectos. Bien presintió el poeta de Valencia en su salutación en ocasión de la visita de mi hija a dicha ciudad, cuando dijo: y cuando mañana vuelvas a tus lares, llevarás el alma de nuestros cantares. Pues a su regreso nos ha traído el regalo del alma hidalga de España. El milagro más grande de la moderna aviación que facilitó la llegada de mi hija a España no ha sido el acortar las distancias que separaban a los dos pueblos en la cartografía antigua, sino el haber levantado sobre la ruta azul del cielo el puente invisible del amor y de la amistad, tendido hacia la eternidad entre los dos pueblos, Filipinas y España. Los vínculos de religión, idioma y cultura que estamos cuidando con amor y perseverancia serán indestructibles, como son indestructibles las leyes de la historia y de la naturaleza. Filipinos y españoles, españoles y filipinos, alcemos los ojos a lo alto y trabajemos de consuno para que la buena semilla de la hermandad filipino-hispana madure en espigas de oro al calor de nuestra fe, reflejando el latido de la paz y el progreso universal.
A Spanish Filipino, Spanish and Chavacano, Español Filipino o Hispano Filipino, Tagalog, Castilla, Tisoy o Conio, Cebuano and Hiligaynon, Kashila, is a Filipino who has Spanish or Hispanic lineage, mostly born and raised in the Philippines. Background: A Spanish Filipino is any citizen or resident of the Philippines who is of Spanish or Hispanic origin. They are represented in all levels of Philippine society and are integrated politically and economically, in the private and government sector. Spanish Filipinos are present within several commerce and business sectors in the Philippines, and a few sources estimate companies which comprise a significant portion of the Philippine economy are owned by Spanish Filipinos, like International Container Terminal Services Inc., Manila Water, Integrated Microelectronics, Inc., Ayala Land, Inchausti y Compañía, Ayala Corporation, Aboitiz and Company, Union Bank of the Philippines, ANSCOR, Bank of the Philippine Islands, Globe Telecom, Solaire Resort and Casino, Phelps Dodge, to name but a few. Demographics background. The term Hispanic, Spanish, Hispano, Hispanico, Galician, Hispanico, Basque, Hispanier, Catalan, Hispa, Hispano, broadly refers to the people, nations, and cultures that have a historical link to Spain. It commonly applies to countries once part of the Spanish Empire, particularly the countries of Latin America, the Philippines, Equatorial Guinea, and Spanish Sahara. The Spanish culture and Spanish language are the main traditions. Spanish Philippines between 1565 and 1898, Hispanics from Latin America and Spain sailed to and from the Philippine Islands. This contributed to the assimilation of the Hispanics into everyday society. According to an 1818 study by the renowned German ethnologist Fedor Jagor entitled The Former Philippines Through Foreign Eyes, not less than one-third of the inhabitants of the island of Luzon were then mixed with varying degrees of Spanish ancestry, and the vast majority of military personnel then had Latin American origins. History. Spanish Philippines is the history of the Philippines from 1521 to 1898. It begins with the arrival in 1521 of European explorer Ferdinand Magellan sailing for Spain, which heralded the period when the Philippines was an overseas province of Spain, and ends with the outbreak of the Spanish-American War in 1898. Spanish East Indies. The Spanish East Indies, Indias Orientales Españolas, were the Spanish territories in Asia-Pacific from 1565 until 1899. They comprised the Philippine Islands, Guam and the Mariana Islands, the Caroline Islands, Palau and the Federated States of Micronesia, and for some time parts of Formosa, Taiwan, and the Moluccas, Indonesia. Cebu was the first seat of government, later transferred to Manila. From 1565 to 1821 these territories, together with the Spanish West Indies, were administered through the Viceroyalty of New Spain based in Mexico City. Captaincy General of the Philippines. The Captaincy General of the Philippines, Spanish, Capitanía General de las Filipinas, Filipino, Capitaniang General ng Pilipinas, was an administrative district of the Spanish Empire. The Captaincy General encompassed the Spanish East Indies, which included the modern country of the Philippines and various Pacific Island possessions, such as the Caroline Islands and Guam. It was founded in 1565 with the first permanent Spanish settlements. For centuries all the political and economic aspects of the captaincy were administered in Mexico by the Viceroyalty of New Spain, while the administrative issues had to be consulted with the Spanish Crown or the Council of the Indies through the Royal Audience of Manila. However, in 1821, after Mexico became an independent nation, all control was transferred to Madrid. Language. In Asia, the Philippines, a former Spanish overseas province, was the lone sovereign nation representative of the Spanish language. Spanish was the lingua franca of the country from the beginning of Spanish rule in the late 1500s until the first half of the 20th century. It held official status for nearly half a millennium before being demoted as an optional language in 1987. However, Spanish still remained a very important language up until the mid-20th century, but inauspicious circumstances resulted in its gradual decline over the decades. Today, despite groups rallying to revive the language and make it a compulsory subject in schools, it is rarely used in everyday life or official settings and is spoken by less than 0.5% of the population. Philippine Spanish.